What's going on, guys? It's Adam P, and welcome back to more Newcastle United transfer news. Today is that day. Medical time. Nick Woltemade, 6'6" German striker, record breaking transfer fee within the range of 65 to 75 million pounds. And my words, I am buzzing to finally be saying that, by the way, but a real potential possibility that he could be involved tomorrow against Leeds. He has to be registered by 12 o'clock today, and this is a player who has been flown in last night within hours of Newcastle United actually completing the deal. Within hours, he's already in Newcastle. Andy Howe is written all over it, hands on with the player, has been able to get him into Newcastle last night. And just before we show you the first ever videos of the player in Newcastle, make sure I get down there, hit that subscribe button. Of course, Leeds away tomorrow. I will be at the game, and of course, more transfer news and a second video to come out later in the day. So make sure to join the journey so you don't miss out on any upcoming content. Now, going on topic to the videos that came out last night. Jess Louise, the first person in the world who's been able to capture footage of Nick Woltemade arriving at his hotel. She claimed she was out walking the dog, just about looked over. Hang on, isn't that a Newcastle United player? Straight away took a video of it. You can see it on the screen now. All credit goes to her. Of course, Nick arrived at his hotel last night, got into Newcastle between 8 to 9 p.m. and then he would have went straight to his hotel, straight to bed. And I'm fairly certain he would have been up nice and early today. Liam Kennedy over at Newcastle World, to make sure to go check out his YouTube channel and his articles if you haven't done so already. He's also been able to capture exclusive footage of the player heading off, getting inside the hotel and starting what is going to be hopefully a long and successful Newcastle United career. And as for today, he'll be arriving at the training ground around 9 a.m. It'd be quite early, he'd be in there straight away doing all this stuff. Of course, Eddie Howe's press conference is also today, so chances are when all the journalists are currently questioning Eddie Howe, interviewing Eddie Howe, he'll probably drive in when all the journalists are inside the building. It makes a logical sense for the club to do that. Obviously, they want to try and hide the fact they've got a new player in, but let's be honest, we all know he is an Newcastle United player, and we all know he's doing his medical today and all of his media stuff. So still totally unsure whether or not he could play against Leeds United, but obviously if he does get registered in time, he'll still be on the bench, but at least be able to potentially make that debut tomorrow. And I feel like if I was to give you an opinion now, it's all this is an opinion, but I feel like there is a chance he can play. I think especially how quick everything's happened yesterday. When I mean quick, you're talking no journalist, no reporter in the world knew anything, let's be honest. Not Romano, not Olstein, not any of the local journalists. No one knew about this deal happening, by the way. It's then got confirmed, and within 2-3 hours he's in Newcastle. So for me, the speed and the intensity of this sign really somewhat tells me that we're trying to get him registered in time for the Leeds game. So we'll see if I'm correct in that. But my personal opinion now is that I think Newcastle United is trying to get him registered before 12 o'clock, meaning that he could play against Leeds United tomorrow. And as for the player himself, I've had a chance now to actually walk away from my videos and to be able just to watch a lot of this guy, to understand how he plays, just to see what he's capable of doing. And I have to say, got a weird Berbatov vibe about him. He's someone that really likes flicking the ball, and he's someone that's technically quite good on the ball. I think especially when you look at strikers now, and especially with some of the strikers he's been linked with. And you talk about a guy like Benjamin Sesko, I've been quite big on, not joining Newcastle so far. But I think Nick Woltemade is actually really good on the ball. It's not like a Chris Wood player, for example, where he's a feeder player, loves the ball coming into him. You can kind of see how a player like Chris Wood was able to struggle so much in Newcastle, but a much better technically gifted player, someone that's very confident on the ball, someone that's quite direct with his shooting. His shooting's quite good. With all due respect to goal, when you actually have a chance to see Nick Woltemade have shots, he's most of them on target. He's really direct in terms of actually moving the ball in, and he's just someone straight away you just tell he's going to be a player. And it's basically Dan Burn up front, a 6'6" player up front. He's clearly tall and quite quick for his height as well. He's someone that's going to be a real problem to deal with in the Premier League. And with a striker alongside him, or that second option with more experience to help him out in case things do get quite tough on his 3 games in a week, that is a perfect spot for him to be in. And I really feel like he's an Isak replacement. Yes, okay, I still think it is possible now that we don't sign a second striker and Isak either just sits in the club or he's a number 2 option now. But we wouldn't have signed Nick Woltemade if we had no intention of selling Isak. He's here now for the possibility that Isak could go. I think it's entirely possible and even likely now if Liverpool was to put down good money. When I mean good money, you're talking 130 plus million pounds. You probably, I reckon the 140 million mark would probably do it now. So if Liverpool actually puts 140 million in it, I reckon they'll get Isak today. I really think it's that simple. Nick Woltemade is not here for Isak to stay. That's not going to happen. Whether it'll be this summer or Newcastle decide to keep him for a little bit longer, Isak's out the door. I think he's already out the door now. And all we need is a second striker to confirm that. And Johan Wissa is still on the cards. Newcastle United still wants Johan Wissa. Talks are still with Brentford over Johan Wissa. Of course, they need to get that attacking option in. But Newcastle trying to prod Brentford a little bit. Trying to get Brentford to move and to try and get Johan Wissa to come to Newcastle United. I have to say, by the way, if, and it's still an if, but if Johan Wissa comes into Newcastle United, of course, Nick Woltemade alongside him, and Isak is sold for 140 million pounds or so. Big claim for me. I actually think it's a 10 out of 10 window. I actually think it is. It's exactly every single area Newcastle need to invest in. And well, of course, losing Isak's a big problem. I'm not going to pretend losing Isak's fine because it still is one of our best players out the door. But effectively, he's a player who's wanted to leave, a player who's kicked the fuss, and you're getting a Premier League record-breaking transfer fee for him. And I know, yes, I'm not going to pretend that I want him to go to Liverpool. Obviously, I don't. The player and his agent will get away with everything they've done this summer by doing that. But you kind of just got to do it at this point. I'm sick about it. I'm sure you're sick about it. And it's something that is going to damage us a lot behind the scenes. The only reason people and myself, the only reason why I'm still quite fixated a few days ago about keeping a hold of the players, because we had no one in for one. And it's almost this dream of the player just apologising after the window, and the dream of this player come back and give 100%. But even if he comes back in after this window closed, he's not going to give 100%. You know he's not. You know he's a player that's going to come in, one eye's out the door, and you know he's a player that's not going to treat us with respect. Because if he treated us with respect, we wouldn't have this situation in the first place this summer. It's a player who clearly wants out, a player who is clearly upset enough to believe he's had broken promises at Newcastle. They cut him loose. Newcastle United survive without Isak, will survive selling Isak. Listen, our football club was not founded when this guy came in. We have been here for a long, long time. We've been successful before him, we've been successful with him, and we'll be successful after him. He'll move on. I'm sure he'll do great things at Liverpool, but I'll mention it again. One day, when he's retired and when everything's all said and done, all the cameras are stopped rolling, when the ball is not being kicked anymore, and when the media's not talking about him anymore, I think one day it'll all crash down on him. He'll hit them all at once, and you'll wish that you treated this situation fairer, because he had a good thing at Newcastle United. He had a good thing with those fans. He had a good thing with those players. He had a good thing with Eddie Howe. And within the space of a couple of months this summer, he's lost it all. It's just truly one of those scenarios, one of those transfer sagas you just never quite predicted. But Johan Wissa, you come in now, Isak goes now. It's that simple. Without that happening, it's still possible he stays, but I reckon more likely he leaves now. I actually reckon it's potentially possible. One striker, and if you can't get a second striker, I still think Isak could go. I still think he could go this summer. I just think the striker we got now is too good to not be an Isak replacement. Stan Larson, I would have said Wilson replacement. Wissa, I would have said Wilson replacement. A lot of the strikers been linked with, I would have said a Wilson replacement. Not this one. This guy's the real deal. This guy is someone we know straight away. Quite a similar, I guess, background to Isak in terms of young 20s, you know, a player who's got the world at his feet, a player who looks good, has high potential, and has good international experience already, but just not Premier League proven. Not someone clubs would spend a ridiculous amount of money on. So Newcastle had that free hit at him. You know, a lot of money, yes, but you're buying quality. And the facts, by the way, on social media, all opposition fans have said about his sign coming in is the price tag. That's all they whinged about. They went, oh, how is Newcastle spending this much on the player? No one has criticised the player. and no one has criticised his qualities and said that he's a bad sign for Newcastle. All opposition fans have said is that they felt that Newcastle spent a lot of money on him. What did that tell you? We heard this before. Heard this with TYNESIDE, heard this with Isak, heard this with Bruno, your Botmans, all these younger players coming in. We've heard it, every single one of them. And these players, we know Eddie Howe, Andy Howe, you're talking Steve Nixon, everyone at the football club, to be fair to them, they pick good players. When they pick a young sign coming in, they pick a good one. They know what they're doing, they know what they're picking, and I'm excited. I think this guy's a real deal. I think this guy will kick on. I think this guy will succeed. And I think this guy will do well at Newcastle United. Enjoy it. And hopefully, we'll find out later in the day. This is a player that will be playing against Leeds tomorrow in some capacity, but still has to be registered before 12 o'clock. So you'll know by 12 o'clock whether this guy is allowed to be playing or not, because you have to, by law, declare and state that this guy is part of the squad tomorrow. So we'll see what happens, but I reckon there's a chance. I do think there's a chance, because otherwise he wouldn't have been thrown in so quickly to try and get this deal confirmed. But what a signing. Seriously, what a signing. It's got me in a great mood after the Champions League draw yesterday. It's got all of you in a great mood, and it just came out of nowhere. I think especially in today's market with all the journalists and how much heavy media attention and quotes there are. This one came out of nowhere. No one claimed it. No one knew where it was coming from, and bam. Only knew once the deal was confirmed. So a real smart behind the scenes move from Newcastle, and they've got the player they wanted. So we'll see what happens next. For now, though, just an introduction video telling you what's going on today, explaining through the medical, explaining through the videos that came out on social media yesterday. And if you don't mind me, I've got a few things I need to do first, and then we'll be back later on today for a second video. So take care, and we will see you all later on.